sure.
No? Say something.
Something?
So.
Something? Okay. On my head?
Oh, of course they are.
Sorry. Hello. Testing.
You just turned off the...
I know.
Okay.
Will you tweet out everything and announce that I'm doing the stream?
Okay. You said a Google Doc for that info, I think?
Yes.
You shared that with me?
Yes, I did. Hello. Hopefully now you can hear me. So what I was saying before, which you weren't potentially able to hear, is that this is an experience that was created with data generated from the Mars rover. You cannot stand on Mars. Like today, the astronauts haven't even figured out how they're going to fly to Mars. We're still working on those details. And they have had probes go there, and this is the closest today that you can get to standing on Mars. And it feels so cool to think that, like, I am on Mars. And that's what I wanted to kind of focus on in today's stream is playing experiences that you cannot ordinarily experience. You have places that you cannot go because we don't have the ability for someone to safely be there, like the BLU experience that I showed earlier where you're underwater. You also have this one, which is on Mars, that you cannot physically transport yourself there in order to experience it. And I love that VR is capable of doing things like this. So this is a pretty early thing that was designed in VR. You see that it has the basic teleportation. Whenever I press on the circle pad, the big thumb pad, I can move my controller around, and there are spots that I can lock into in order to navigate. Since then, this has become a really common way to move around in VR. People experimented with other types of movement. Game pads where, like, I would press forward and I would move myself. There was also some opportunities to, like, move your arms back and forth, up and down in order to teleport. But they found that having the blink where it would make your screen go black for just a very short fraction of time, it reduced nausea for people moving. And they even have newer options that I've incorporated in a game that I'm making where you kind of dim out the corners of the screen and just focus on the area that you're teleporting to, and then it zooms in on that as it fills in the rest as you teleport to it. So it's telling your brain visually that you're moving towards this object, and so it reduces nausea, which is very important in VR. And having these little spots, like these little information spots, they allow you to teleport to, like, specific places a little bit easier. And so if you're new to VR and you're not sure what to do or how to go, it gives you these nicer places to land. So this scene was built using the Mars rover imagery, which I mentioned before, and it was open, released by NASA, and they were able to recreate these beautiful scenery. And the image, I have to teleport a few times. See, as I teleport, you can see, like, watch it go black, and then I move forward. See? That's really cool. Okay. So this one, artistic license. So this is talking about how the images or the data that came was all monochromatic. And so this like tint and the rendering of the mountains in the background had to be done more with artistic mind. And they procedurally generated the sky to try and make it as realistic as possible. But these are artist rendering based on scientific data that we have collected. We know approximately what it would look like, but all of the stuff on the ground, all of the rocks and things you see, that is exactly what the Martian soil would look like. The color is something that they applied, but the terrain, the like kind of roughness of it, the rocks that you see, that is directly from the rover's data. Isn't that amazing? That's so cool. Okay. Let me see if I can get another experience. Okay. There are other destinations that you can go to here. Some of them have been fan created. Some of them are preloaded. I can go to the Get More. So you can see that in destinations, there have been a lot of people that have just been making like really cool experiences. So like Firewatch, there was one of the Valve Studio headquarters. ThingBeliever, which is from Iceland. Oh, I remember Country Lane. That one was kind of fun. There was one that I'd seen, and this may be in Realities and not in Destination, but there was a TARDIS. Oh, I saw a Sunset Beach. Let's go to a Sunset Beach. Content is downloading. Oh, the Sea Huddle Gum Wall. Ooh, lava tubes. Okay. Content is downloading. Okay. Let's see. Oh, it's still downloading. Sunset Beach is available. Okay. Let us visit Sunset Beach. I am now hosting Sunset Beach. Okay. So it's got some things that you can go to. Oh my goodness. You can just keep going out. Oh, you're on the ocean. That's so cool. Whoa. I like the texture that they did to the water, only like I got the weird Z fighting here going on. So I'm going to back up a little bit. Oh, who thought you would go from Mars all the way to a beach? So how far out can you go? Just keep teleporting? I don't know. There we go. Whoa! I feel like I'm just deep in the water. Although, this doesn't have too big of a depth, because, like, yeah, Oh, I think it was an inclined plane in, so it was slowly edging you in. Oh, there's a flashlight here. Okay. Oh, flashlight! Woo! I don't know if it'll let me drop it. Oh, yep, it let me drop it. I just wasted. I polluted. Okay. So let's see if the other destination is available now. Lava tubes in Iceland. Okay. Is the stream going well?
There is someone in chat. Indie Development Labs has been talking in chat.
Oh, cool. Hello.
Know what you think about virtual reality.
I love virtual reality. I'm thinking that there's an error. Like, I have this feeling that there was an error. Yeah, I know. But this is a really cool error to, like, a VR error.
Well, they want to make sure you know no matter which direction you look in.
Okay. I'm now hosting home. Okay. Did they have any questions for me, or they just in general wanted to know what I thought?
I just want to know, just the question was, what do you think about virtual reality?
I really think that virtual reality has the ability to give people experiences that they wouldn't have in their ordinary everyday lives. And so today I was trying to showcase a lot of the different places that you can go in VR that aren't really accessible to individuals. But I love being able to make experiences that can build empathy or give you superpowers or give you an opportunity to do something that you've never done before. And there's just so many possibilities today, which is really amazing. I hope that answers the question. So while Destinations has my favorite experience of being able to go to Mars, which I showed you, there's also an experience that allows you to go to a place on Earth that there's no way I will ever be able to play that myself. And that is Everest VR. So I'm going to try switching to that so that you can kind of get a sense of what that's like. I'm hoping that my assistant will make sure that it loads up properly. It's still loading.
I've apparently been downgraded from friend to assistant.
Okay. So I have something in my vision. Right, but I was just letting you know. I'm doing it on windowed.
Okay, should be good.
Okay. Oh, I have a mitten. Okay. This was made in Unreal Engine. I can't hear anything though. Do you need to click back into the game?
Oh, I might.
Okay, there we go. I hear stuff now. Okay.
I can't see OBS now, but everything's fine.
Can you see it on the other screen? Okay, it says stand on the footprints. Okay. Okay. So this is Everest VR. They took and they created different parts of your climb to Everest and they recreated them in VR so that you could experience what the climbers feel. And so one of the first ones is base camp. This is where a lot of the mountain climbers kind of set up once they've climbed.
Welcome to Everest VR. First things first, see those footprints on the ground? Now position yourself on top and make sure you are facing in the same direction as the toes.
Okay.
That's it. Before we can start our journey, we need to go through the basics.
This also uses the teleport that had been in Destinations that I mentioned, where the big circle, when you press it, it creates this arcing loop. And now this has become really ubiquitous in all VR games that I've seen. It didn't start out like that. Like I was mentioning before, I don't know if the mic was on. They had experimented with doing things like allowing you to, press an analog stick on a controller. They also experimented with the idea of like moving arms up and down like this to move forward. But they found that teleporting, where it turned your screen black for just a millisecond, reduces nausea and is pretty easy for people in VR to handle. It's almost kind of like the jump cut. I was reading in an article about the history of movies where the first jump cut in a movie was so startling to the audience they couldn't figure out what's going on. And eventually we created this language of how we wanted to build scenes and build movies, and created more tools that the audience could understand what would happen. And the jump cut is now so common that it's used in commercials. And I'm hoping that this kind of teleportation like this becomes something that's just, it is, and it exists, and it is like the best way I've ever seen to transport a player in VR. And maybe we'll come up with something that's even better in the future, but for now, teleportation like this, I love it. Okay. Look at my team leader. Keep looking until the white icon appears. I lift my hand and wave. Okay.
Now, let's start our journey.
Can't see anything. My journey's very slow. Oh, there we go. Something. Okay, base camp. Wow.
She has many names. To some, she is Sagamartha, the goddess of the sky. To others, she is the apex experience, awe-inspiring, unforgiving, the pinnacle of human achievement. We know her as Everest.
Wow. I love how there's still lens flare. Oh, I can't hear anything anymore. What?
You need to address OBS. The window was way too big.
I can't pause it. It's
Okay. You should be back now.
Takes weeks of adjusting to the extreme. Your journey begins at base camp, the central point for all organization and logistics. There, you must pay your respects to the mountain gods. At the start of every season, the Sherpas hold a puja ceremony to bless the expeditions, the equipment, and the climbers by offering food and burning incense. During the ceremony, if a crow lands on the pole at the altar, it bodes well for you and all those who will be climbing the mountain.
down the footprints. Okay. I'm told that they worked with a lot of the guides that lead the expeditions up to Everest in order to create this experience. They wanted it to be as authentic as possible, and they spent a lot of time trying to capture what are the key elements that really make the climb so breathtaking and moving, and they tried their best to capture it and give you an idea of the dangers that it takes to climb it with this VR experience. And so right now, I think I'm supposed to put food on the altar or something. They have items. So I have like a box. Can't find anything in the box. I think I can put the backpack on. Can't put the backpack on. Nope. Oh yeah, backpack on. Woohoo!
So Indie Development Labs wants to know if you think virtual reality is lacking anything.
Well, we're still in the early days of VR, so it makes it hard. It's like saying in the early 80s was video games lacking anything, and a lot of it is content and adoption. When the first video games came out, you had Pong with like rudimentary graphics, and then you're able to keep iterating on storage and gameplay, and then you were able to incorporate sound and
Good luck. Finish the puja ceremony by placing some food or drink on the stone altar.
yeah, and just so many other really cool things. And so I hope that we can continue to add more content. I hope that we can continue to add devices that people can play it on. I would love to see experiences like this that you can be able to play on your phone, so that your phone would be the device that you can play VR on. But a lot of times if you have your phone, you don't have the control, so you can't interact. So like in this game, you're supposed to like put fruit on the altar, and I can't do that if my experience is just with can I teleport with this? Sorry. I'm trying to do too many things at once. There we go. I've seen some really cool haptic feedback devices, like gloves that make it feel like instead of me using a controller, if what I was doing was like grabbing it with my hand and putting it on there, that would be really cool. And just having that technology so that a lot of people can access it. Awesome! I've also seen haptic suits that if you're punched or if you're shot with a bullet, you can feel the kickback. Helps make it more realistic. I've also seen an omnidirectional treadmill, and for me that would be so amazing. So instead of having to do this teleporting, if I had some sort of like omnidirectional pad that I could walk around, then it would feel like I could walk around in this space instead of having to teleport and worry about the blinking. In the experience that I made, you have to bend down a lot, and even in this one you have to bend down and like pick up the box, pick up a lot of the apples and rocks and stuff, and the and the omnidirectional they keep talking to me. The omnidirectional treadmill had like a little waist high guard, and if you needed to bend down and pick things up, that guard would get in the way. But it makes it really safe so that people can walk on it without getting hurt. So that one I'm hoping that we can perfect in the future. And I like the idea of being able to play VR with the people that are in the room with you. Like right now, I can stream this so you can kind of see what it's like. But wouldn't it be amazing if you could pull up your phone and it would be a window into what I'm seeing? And so instead of forcing me to turn my head and look around and and try and give you a window into it. I would then be streaming a 360 sphere to you that you could look around at, and you could also see me in it. So to me, that would be more like watching a football game or a soccer game or a basketball game, where we could have someone that's watching me on the sidelines, and I would be the player instead of being the camera, which is what I currently am.
And what do you think makes virtual reality better than augmented reality?
Virtual reality allows you to be completely immersed in it. So, especially today with the experiences that I'm going to, where I'm going to different locations, having an Everest augmented reality wouldn't be as powerful as the ability to like stand on the mountain. Like, I currently am in the base camp. I am on Mount Everest. In the real life, I am never going to be in this place, but it feels very real, and I can imagine what it's like, and I can build empathy for other humans because I am living through their experience. It's a lot more interactive than a movie. It's a lot more visually detailed than you can get through a book, and I just feel like it is the next version of storytelling, and such a beautiful, powerful medium.
Your ascent begins on the Khumbu Icefall, a tumbling field of ice that guards the entrance to the Valley of Silence, the Great Western Khum. Prone to avalanches, its topography ever-changing, it would be impossible to traverse without the Sherpa. With a new route each season, the Sherpas must also account for the constant
Is it moving
motion
you,
of the
or
glacier
are you
each
moving
day.
slowly?
It's slowly moving me.
For many climbers, this perilous crossing
One of the
is the
things
mountain's
that
most daunting
you can
trial.
do in VR is you can
On
move
the
the
18th
player
of April,
at a constant
2014,
acceleration.
Khumbu Icefall claimed the lives of 16 Sherpas
If you're
who
moving them
perished in
very,
an
very
avalanche that
slowly,
engulfed them on the glacier.
and they have some sort of context of where they are, then it doesn't create motion sickness. But this is actually like the fastest that you can really move someone without having any sort of like cage around them. So if you put someone in a vehicle like a car, having the frame of the car is really helpful for telling them. I'm not in the footprints again. Oh, right here. Having that car will create a frame in the corner of their eye so that they would know where to be, and it reduces nausea. Or having a kind of like cage around them can also be helpful. I think this one I need the other. Yeah. So here is an example of movement in VR where I need to cross this, and I'm going to have to actually move. There's a giant chasm, and I have to climb onto these. Oh,
take your time.
It's kind of attached. Oh. Okay.
Careful.
Whoa. So if you're afraid of heights, they've done a really good job of like making it feel like you are crossing on just a tiny ladder. You can hear the sound. I'm just like, it's so scary. I'm almost across.
Good job. next ladder.
I can't see anything.
Yeah, she just left range of the lighthouses there, and that's why everything froze up, and she couldn't tell what was going on anymore.
This is one of the downsides of VR. I actually don't see my grid. I can't see where the chaperone boundaries are. This game doesn't seem to be using them.
Oh, that's weird. I thought that was just part of the Vive like the part of Vive that it
Yeah,
was.
I thought it was too. Oh. I love the audio that they've incorporated in this. They really added sound, and you can hear the ice cracking. And that's something that a lot of early VR didn't quite realize was important, is that the two mediums that you really get to communicate well with in VR is the visuals and sound. And you can make such a polished experience by just adding really amazing sounds. So now I can teleport. Okay. And this is another thing that a lot of people have done in VR. This is another thing that's really common, is to be able to like kind of. Whoa. Okay. No, it just sounded like ice is gonna fall on me. Well, for some reason, only one hand's working. Okay. And because I'm standing still and this is moving, it can kind of create an effect where you can feel dizzy if you're looking anywhere else. But because I'm focusing on the ladder and the ladder is in my field of vision, I am focusing just on the ladder moving, and it makes it feel like the ground is attached to it, as opposed to me moving, I'm moving the ground. Which is kind of a cool visual trick that you can play. Oh my goodness, you can look down. Oh.
Take a look at that view. Just let me know when you are ready to leave.
I don't know if they took 360 cameras and like filmed what Everest looked like, or if they just like had an artist render this, but this is gorgeous. Oh. Are there any other questions from chat?
The only other comment so far is, imagine how cold this place would be.
Oh, I know. It's so cool. I think that's why everybody's like strongly bundled up. They even added like a really nice touch where my hands are mittens. So instead of having the controller, they added that nice polish.
Does the thumb grasp when you pull the trigger or anything?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So that's just a taste of what Everest VR was like. There's one experience that I've actually not pulled up before, but sounded really cool. And I wanted to share it for the first time with you. So hopefully it will display properly. And this is Destination Pluto. So I showed you destinations from the Mars rover. I don't really know much about the Pluto experience. I don't know if they are using data from the mission that just went by it, or if they were using older information from satellites. But I'm hoping that this is based on a lot of the new things that we found out when we sent our satellite. It hasn't fully pulled up yet.
Okay, sorry, it's called Pluto VR.
Yes, it is. Pluto the VR experience. Destination Pluto the VR experience.
Well, the executable is just called Pluto VR, which is why I was getting confused there.
Oh, okay. So I like having fun and silly things, but also trying to
Exit.
yes.
Exit.
I want to.
Exit. Exit.
Maybe I
Exit.
have to fly to Pluto. No, 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 no. Please, no.
Okay, seems to be staying in the green now, so hopefully that's good.
Okay, well, I guess I take it here and I can go that way to turn, or that way to turn. Can I go up? Oh, can I go down? Okay, it's telling me, okay. I can, what? This doesn't make sense. I can turn. That's as much as I figured out. Okay. I don't know, I want to go, am I going backwards now? Am I flying? I don't feel like I'm getting closer to Pluto. I feel like if it's that big, I should be getting closer to it. $6,000 miles per hour, it seems. personally a big fan of allowing everybody to like
Exit.
grow and create
Exit.
stuff, and
Exit.
you know, like
Exit.
I'm always a big
Exit.
fan of
Exit.
co-op games where you
Exit.
can play
Exit.
together and socialize. Create those because I'm gonna more likely create something I love playing, and the more different playstyles there are, the more different developers we should have. That's what's awesome about diversity. There's a lot of businesses and education and nonprofits and medical that are entering the VR space that aren't even making games, and they're in it to like help people learn, to help people imagine and experience. I've seen a lot of real estate where you can visit the house that you're going to potentially buy. IKEA has an experience where you can put furniture and see it in VR. There's a really cool medical program that they've recreated, the human skeleton, and then they put muscles on it, and they put organs in it, and medical students can go in VR and they can pull it apart. Question. I'm very sad I can't figure out how to get onto Pluto. I think this is pretty much the experience. I think you can maybe fly around Pluto?
Are you sure you can't interact with those monitors at all?
I tried, but they're actually out of my bounds.
Okay, the guide said there was a teleport button. Is that not correct?
Yeah, it seems...
Enter.
Okay, what? Okay, apparently I can fly out in space.
I mean, didn't you already do that?
Yeah, I figured that one out. Ah! What the? Oh,
Oh, they actually modeled the outside of the spacecraft.
okay. Now I'm just flying. It's not getting any bigger. I want to get closer to Pluto. I'm so demanding. They make this beautiful planet, and this seems so lifelike that I want more.
I'm guessing this is probably as close as New Horizons got.
I bet you, yeah. But I wanted to go around it. I wanted to see other parts of it. Didn't they orbit it? I thought that they got more than just this picture.
It was just a flyby. They got a bunch of images as they were flying by, but it was on orbit.
Okay. Okay, well. I don't know, but I lost my headphones. There, I think
There you go.
I can't get back in the spaceship.
Enter. Enter. Enter.
Turns out you were correct, Nemesis.
Exit.
Okay.
Exit.
Well-
Exit.
I have reached the limit of this experience. Still really cool. Still left me wanting for more. Pull this one back up, the blue, which I didn't get to like share earlier because you couldn't hear me. I love the blue. It is like one of the best experiences to put someone who's brand new to VR in. This one's really gentle. I really like the Reef Madness because a lot of people
Hold on
do
a
the
minute.
whale.
I need to actually switch over to it. Can you see anything? All I see is like a blank blue screen. Like it's
like loading.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, it should be good now.
Okay, it says
Can you see
Weather.
it? Yep.
Is this in?
Yep, this
Okay.
is it. This is the blue.
Okay.
BLUE, or BLU. So what they did here, because they knew that this would possibly a lot of like beginner experiences, they modeled the controllers and the headset to have colliders on there. So the fish cannot actually come into your personal space. That's one of the number one things you do not want to do in VR is invade someone's personal space. And that can make them nauseous. It can also really make them feel creepy. And so there have been a few instances where I've seen VR developers break that, but those are generally for like horror games, and they're doing it very intentionally in order to create that effect. But in general, making it so that the objects that are swimming around you cannot interact with your body just increases the experience that much. They also modeled each one of these to be its own unique creature. So it isn't something that's just happening in the void around me, but I can actually go up and I can touch the jellyfish and I can stop them. Well, I have to wait for one to come a little closer because that's out of my boundaries, but see, like, it can see my controller and it's trying to swim around it to make sure it doesn't swim into my body. And you can kind of see ghosting coming out. There's some giant jellyfish coming their way. Look at this. Like, the scale of this is so amazing. Like, I have my arms at, like, shoulder width. I don't know if you can see my controllers. But this is huge. And it's, like, right in front of me. And it feels like it's looking at me. I know jellyfish don't have eyes. But it feels like it's reacting to my presence here. Which just, it makes it feel like I really am there. And there's no way you could ever stand in the ocean really deep and experience something like this. Like, if you were maybe in a submarine or you know, like not too deep, but in like scuba diving gear, you might be able to get close. But something that's like down in the Mariner Trench or like down where there is no visible light, only robots can go down there. And you can get a camera feed and it looks okay, but they've created this VR experience so that you can really understand how lively the ocean is. And by experiencing that, you might develop some empathy for all of the creatures that are in the ocean. And in general, we probably don't think that much about the ocean. Like, you sail across it, you know, we have like huge ships, cruise ships, and ocean liners that travel our packages, and in 1492 ocean was sailed on like big wooden boats, and the Vikings sailed across like the northern part to like Iceland and Greenland and a little bit to North America, but like most people don't think about what's underneath the surface of the ocean. And I know Titanic was really interesting when I was a teenager. We loved the idea that like there's this robot, and like you could see what the actual like ship was, and there was like corals and other really cool sea life there. But most people were interested in it because like the movie with like Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, and that was why they were so interested in Titanic, not because they wanted to know what was on the ocean floor. And this might make someone think twice about drinking water from a plastic bottle, or about allowing different mining off of the coastline, or maybe even think about global warming and how if our ocean temperature rises, we could kill 90% of the coral reef. This is a way to capture what life is currently like, build empathy for it before it goes away, so that we can take actions to preserve it and protect it. And that's one thing that's really cool.
So Indie Development Labs asks if you've ever accidentally thrown or dropped your controller.
Yes, I think everyone has. Once when I was demoing my experience, I had someone that was in the VR headset, and they didn't realize there was a table in front of them, and they bent down to pick up something off the floor and just smacked the headset right on the table. And like, they were stunned for a second, but they were fine. The headset was fine. Everyone around them was like kind of stunned in silence too. But it all worked out. My controllers have fallen on the floor. I have silicone protectors on them to, make sure that they stay safe. But there's also wrist straps on them so that if I am trying to like swing at something, that they don't go flying, that there's some security and protection. It's the same thing with a Wiimote. I mean, how many Wiimotes got thrown through walls, through the how many Wiimotes were thrown through windows and televisions and walls and stuff. It's the same thing for these controllers, and you try and be safe, and you try and be cautious and aware. But I've done demos with like 5-year-olds and people who've never tried VR before, and sometimes they're really gentle and worried about breaking it, and sometimes they just get so immersed in the experience that they run into walls and they're just like punching the floor and just excited because like it's just so engaging and immersive. And that's why you have protection. Safety first. Always use protection, yes. I can't seem to pull up other games. That's weird. Like my Windows being funky. There was another experience that I wanted to play. It's part of the lab where you're in the Roman Colosseum.
Okay, it's part the Steam Lab thing, the same thing that's got the arcade game in it?
Yes.
Okay, I will grab that for you.
Oh, well, I can get Trials on Tatooine to come up, so, do you got that one coming up?
It doesn't look like it's opening.
Okay.
Why would you be opening Trials on Tatooine? Last time you streamed that, you got a cease and desist.
No, the last time I tried to add it to YouTube, I got a cease and desist because of the music.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like I'm back in my Steam homeroom. So I should be able... Okay. It seems to think that I don't know where I am. Okay.
I don't see the lab here.
Oh. Maybe I don't have it downloaded. I thought I did.
I don't even see it in the shared games.
Oh, that's weird. Okay. But you can see all the things that I've done before.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay.
I should have just done a search.
So the Lab is another one of those early games that was released when the Vive released, so that you could kind of get a taste test of a lot of different experiences. This one that I wanted to pull up is about being in ancient Rome.
Hold on a second. I need to actually switch the audience over to it.
Okay.
In the meantime, Indie Dev Lab wonders how people could teach AI using VR.
Well, there's a robot currently that will watch what you're doing.
That's not the lab.
The lab is loading. It looks like it's working.
When I switched to the window for it in OBS, it's showing me the Hall of Mirrors thing.
Oh, okay.
If I do...
It says loading the lab, so the lab isn't loaded yet.
So maybe that'll work?
Yeah. So there are robots that currently exist that, like, you can perform an action, and it will watch you, and then it will perform that action. And the kind of basis of how machine learning works is that you have a robot that creates another robot, and then you create this, like, test data to tell it, like, this is accurate, this is not accurate. And then the robot will create like 10 or 20 or 1,000 robots and then make them all take the test to verify whether or not they are, getting the accurate results based on the training data. And then it takes the top 10% of robots that got the test right. Maybe, one of them gets 70% on it versus 20%. And then it uses that as the model for the next robot that it makes. So it takes those and it will make new robots, and then it'll test those again and take the top ones and test it again and take the top ones there and test it again. And so it creates this algorithm that us as humans don't fully understand, but it is quickly learning and it can do some really amazing stuff. And they have been using it to, train images, to train word recognition for, text. They have been doing speech recognition. But one of the flaws with it is that it's only going to be as good as the training data. And there has been numerous reports where the face recognition was trained on photos of stock photography. Well, a lot of photography was created so that the tones in Caucasian skin is what shows up the best. And if you have a darker complexion, like really dark melanin in Africa, then you do not show up as well on the camera. So there aren't a lot of stock photography of diverse skin types. And there isn't a lot of good photography of African skin. And so there have been a lot of robots or AI that has been trained on these stock photos, and they can't detect an African face. And sometimes when you have large groups of images, it can't detect that an African face is a human face. Instead, it thinks it's a gorilla. And that's where you get a problem. So you have to be really, really cautious in what information you're giving to it and what are the test cases that you're using in order to make sure it's accurate. So I think you can use VR to teach computers, but a much better goal is to try and make VR and technology that will assist humans. So it can be a tool like your washing machine or your microwave, and it can simplify human lives, and it can enhance our ability to do things, and it can save us time. And that's going to be a much better use of things. Like I mentioned, the educational experiences. There's also been a lot of social experiences. So if you work with a team of 4 people and you have meetings in VR, you don't have to rent an office. You don't have to drive into the office, but you can still have a lot of the social communal experiences where you can see body language and you can kind of still feel connected to your coworkers. So you can feel more comfortable going to them and asking for help, and that you know what someone's doing and you're building a relationship with them so that you can have like a good professional working relationship in case something goes wrong, like maybe it's crunch time, or maybe someone's struggling, or taking twice as long to deliver something. It can still build those positive bonds that you get by working in the same office without harming the environment by having a lot of people have to drive into a city. And there is a lot of housing issues. In San Francisco, there's insane housing rents, and in Seattle, that's also really a problem. Seattle has the 3rd highest rate of homelessness, and there's like big corporations like Amazon and Microsoft and even Google, and there are a lot of people that are saying that like Amazon and Microsoft and all of these big companies should pay taxes to build housing for the homeless. But if we didn't have to keep forcing people to be in one geographic location, then they could work from anywhere and you wouldn't have to migrate to one of these big cities. And then you wouldn't have such an inflation in housing in a specific city because everyone's trying to work there and they have high wages because housing is really expensive. And imagine if you didn't have to live in San Francisco or Seattle or LA or New York or one of the big cities in order to work in tech. If you could live in Detroit or Michigan, like I think Ann Arbor has like one of the like lowest housing costs, and they're trying to convince a lot of people to move there. Pittsburgh has a lot of revitalization that they're trying to do. And they keep saying that millennials are moving out of the Midwest, out of, the South towards the coast, and it's creating a big divide and creating a lot of liberalism on the coastlines, while a lot of conservatism and divisions in the middle. And maybe VR can help solve that a little bit. I mean, that's what we thought chat rooms were going to do. And you could talk to anyone on the internet that you wanted to, and it could be so cool. And then what did we use the technology for?
So I've got it up. We have to use the display mirror though, so that's why people are seeing both eyes now when they weren't before.
Okay.
You'll also be able to see any UI she brings up and the chaperone boundaries.
I currently have no chaperone boundaries, by the way.
Test traveler, and
We
welcome to
must
the
not have set up
Amateur
room
Science
set up and
Sub-Universe
done
Exploration
standing
Center.
only or something.
Maybe. Oh, wrong button. That would explain why it keeps letting me go out of bounds. But I could have sworn we
Please
set it
move
up.
forward.
I can't move
thought we
forward.
did
Please
too.
use your spatial reassignment
there we go.
wand to move forward.
See, this one also has the teleportation.
This is the Aperture Science face-mounted portal sphere. It is your gateway to a vast continuum of undiscovered.
Vesper me. I'm fine with tutorials. It may be boring for the audience, but they can keep asking me questions. I hope that I'm interesting. Did they say something funny?
If there are, I don't even know what that number is. Million, billion, trillion, 43 sextillion, 252 quadrillion, 3,274,489,856,000 different combinations in Rubik's Cube. I wonder how many combinations there are for AI.
Oh. Can I have my chair?
Caperature science. Did it say that somewhere?
I don't know. Hello?
It is also made by Valve, but it is not Portal.
There's a little Portal scene in there, though.
Was there?
Well, no, I haven't gotten to it yet. Paul?
Yeah?
Chair. Aha! Oh, yeah, I remember this one. Okay. Okay, so there's like a little alien thing here. Let's move out of the rocks. So this is cool. This is another state park. When they were trying to create this scene, they did a lot of 3D scans. So you could take a 360 camera and you can take photos of it, and then you can put it into different programs in order to create 3D models of the items that you're scanning. And so what they ended up doing was they took a lot of images here using a lot of hikers that did like different points, and then they were able to create this really cool scene. So this little guy here will kind of react to me. I can also teleport around, and he likes to follow. He also loves sticks. So let me see if we can grab a stick. Where'd the stick go? Come on. Okay. Where'd he go? Robot dog. Where'd the robot dog go? Oh! He's right under me. See? Okay. We're gonna throw the stick. You gonna go fetch it? Wah! Isn't that adorable? Thank you. Okay. So again, it has these options, like specific places that they would have put the camera to scan, and that's generally why you have like the one location that you can be at, is that they put up a 360 camera here, and they took like a really high quality image so that they can play it back, but the camera would have been mounted in this exact location, so if I move around, they didn't have the ability in order to recreate it as well. And so you'll see where they would have set up the camera to see a lot of different stuff. I think a lot of the experiences they did like this, but I'm not 100% sure. And there's a trick that you can do with it too, is you can take it and you can stand on the seam of it and you can turn it, and if you take 6 pictures while turning it, then you can stitch them together as long as it's staying in the same pivot point, like if you're just rotating it, and then you can create a beautiful 360 camera image without having to have the person who took it in the frame. So beautiful. I love seeing stuff like this. So the idea here is, I think you can kind of climb around the rock face. Oh, there we go. Oh, more rocks. Okay, so this is where I was before. And this seems a lot flatter, so I bet they're able to put the camera in a lot of different places in order to get like a really good capture. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to the lab. I love this way of teleporting back. You take a sphere and you put it on your head. That seems most natural. But this has a whole variety of stuff. So that was one experience where they'd taken 360 captures. Another experience that I mentioned previously is that they recreated a scene from Portal where you can interact with the robots from Portal 2. They also created a really cool arcade-like experience that you can go in really briefly and shortly.
Against all odds, test traveler of Pocket Universe Lab 8 has survived.
So this is the Portal experience that I mentioned before. Robot repair. Not to be confused with BB-8 Repair Shop, which is a Star Trek branded experience. This is a Portal branded experience. But they're actually, the two of them do have some similarities.
Odd, I just got a firewall pop up and it just brought up another window here.
In my stream?
It's not in the stream, it's just on your computer.
Oh. How is that possible? I only have one screen. Are you doing display capture?
No, it's not. I'm doing window capture on the
and welcome to
VR
Robot
headset.
Rehabilitation and Wellness Center. Our records indicate that
Oh,
you
I
are
think
the
each
inaugural
experience is a
participant in our
separate
Human Diversity
executable or
Outreach
something,
program.
because that
You are holding dual
is
aperture
actually
science
showing
prosthetic
what
multi-tool.
you are seeing
Please
in
charge
that
them
window.
in the multi-tool charging
Oh,
station.
okay.
Huh.
Okay. So...
Please locate the charging station and charge your multi-tools.
Oh, I think this is the charging station.
Good. Now press the button on the multi-tool. Good. Your multi-tools have been fully irradiated.
Okay.
Please remove your radiation suit at this time. No suit detected.
Ah.
There is a cabinet of drawers in your repair station. Please locate it and open a drawer.
Okay. And see, because this is one of the early VR experiences, they have a really good tutorial
Open a
as if
drawer.
you have no experience in VR. So first you're getting audio prompts. They're trying to confirm that you know that this is a controller in your hand. So they made you put it over here, and they taught you how to pull the trigger and would continue giving you prompts until you did it. And now he gave me an audio prompt telling me to find drawers, and
Open a drawer.
since I'm not doing it, he's going to repeat the instructions, but they also had a label that they put over on the drawers as well. And you can kind of see on the ground, there's like a faint circle where they're expecting me to teleport to. So they're giving me audio, they're giving me visual, and they're trying to like really coax me to do the thing that they want. They also, on the drawers,
Please
they
open a
have
drawer.
3 green lights, kind of helping draw my attention to that. Those are the 3 drawers that it wants me to play with. Huh?
There we go. So Indie Development Labs, you've kind of been answering this most of the stream a little bit, but he wants to know, or they want to know, what do you think about the user interface of VR?
I think we're still in the early days of being able to create it. So one thing with the UX is you need to create a common language for being able to interact and things. So like I've been mentioning for most of the stream, like I love this ability to teleport. Like the more that we can incorporate this into every VR experience, this is going to teach me the same way that we taught individuals to play Mario. That you press that right arrow button and you're gonna move forward. And that has been incorporated into so many games that now a lot of times you don't even have to think about it. You just press it. You just press the analog stick and you just go, because that's how you're so used to interacting. And I want this teleport to be like that. That, you know, you see something that's across the room and you just, the first thing you do is you press it and you click. And I actually do that a lot now. I don't even realize I'm doing it unless I notice that that's not in the experience. There's also a trigger button.
Now close the drawer
So-
and open the correct drawer. Locate and open the correct drawer.
Okay. So this
Good.
one, oh,
You have now practiced on 2 incorrect
cake
drawers.
is a
Please
lie.
open the correct drawer.
Was it a lie or just moldy? It was hard to tell.
Aw, I missed the pocket universe.
Open the correct drawer.
Okay, here we go. Little
Please
pocket
keep
universe.
Good. As explained in your orientation, you should, of course, never look directly into the drawer. Room sensors indicate you are currently looking directly into the drawer. You have just interfered with an Aperture Science Pocket Universe cap. You are now their god. Close the drawer to initiate Contaminated Pocket Universe Contingency Protocol.
This is so silly.
Good. Contaminated Pocket Universe incinerated. Opening drawers has been removed from your list of responsibilities. Please locate the service bay door lever and pull it.
Oh, hi. Wants me to, what?
Locate and pull the lever.
What lever? Does it mean this lever?
Now serving 1.
Oh, okay. That's right. Okay. Hello. How may I help you today? This is one of the things that's not obeying the
As you can see from the
physics
schematic
law.
hologram, all Aperture brand robots can be repaired by
Is
anyone with even a
interacting
rudimentary
with my
understanding of
physical
advanced
presence.
electromechanical engineering.
Okay,
To
please
begin
play
repairing this
full
unit,
hand.
attach your multi-tool to its faceplate and pull as forcefully. You may hear what sounds to a human like mechanical screaming. But rest assured, while robots feel human, good. Step 2. Locate half-inch
None of
bore
you
number
that I've
35 gauge
seen,
sprocket and low motor D
I
and
actually
disengage it
have
from
a
the equipment in
friend
your actuator, unless
that
its electrostatic
is
ion
in a
reactor is
wheelchair.
uncoupled from anodized voltage axis
And
circle bracket
when
733E
he is
and
trying
omega
to play
oxidization
VR,
valves
just notice the
ACF
same
and
thing that I'm
H1
currently having here.
asymmetric and turbo
All of
pulse
the
manifold case
experiences seem
Please
to
take
be
your time. Up to 30
calibrated
seconds.
if you
At
can
which point
stand
the
it.
thermal reactor currently uncoupled
If
from its
you
exchange
are someone
will detonate.
that is
Alert flash
short,
deployed.
like a child, if you're someone in a wheelchair, or if you're someone that's just sitting in a chair, it makes the experience really hard to do. And there have been
Again, take your
later
time.
games
15
or
seconds.
experiences
15
that will
second
put a
flash
handle
deployed.
on it to kind of allow you to adjust it. So this one, I think,
Increased heart rate detected.
it's just turning
Motion
it.
sounds relaxation pricing deployed.
And it's expecting me to have something up at the top and visually see it. But that's another thing that you have to watch out for inner things. Another thing that I've also seen is that it's really hard to read text in VR. You have to have a really high
All
font.
responsibilities have been removed or listed responsibilities. Core meltdown imminent. Supervisor has been alerted.
I don't believe it. What kind of robot can't handle the simplest?
Hi, GLaDOS.
It's you. Congratulations on your quota-filling promotion, by the way. You've opened all our eyes to what humans can achieve when you put your tiny little minds to it.
Repair station recycling initiated. For your own safety, please vacate this station immediately.
Don't listen to him, you'll be fine. Also, let's be honest. Your first day's been a bit of a disaster. It's probably not the worst thing if you die.
Oh, it's so cool. So, because text is so hard to read,
Repair station recycling in progress.
a lot of VR experiences.
I want
that's
you to
why
know at
audio
first I
can
was
be
against
so
this human diversity
important as
outreach
well.
program. But now, watching you flail around like a sweaty pile of
And just
ham,
like
I see I
any
was wrong.
kind
It's
of
hilarious.
experience, you want to
Honestly,
make
I
sure that
think
you're
you're overqualified
playtesting
for robot
it.
repair.
A developer
I've got a better assignment
has a
for you.
specific
Repair station
perspective
recycling
on the
complete.
experience. They
Thank you for
they
your
know
participation.
what buttons you're
That's a
supposed to press.
recording.
They know
He
how
likes
you're
to say
supposed
that.
to be interacting it, and you can learn so
Goodbye.
much by just watching someone try and play your game. Hello. Ah. That was an ending. Okay, let's see if I can find that one I was originally going for. I don't know if I've answered the question thoroughly enough.
I think you have.
Right now, VR is so cool and so brand new that it gives you the opportunity to play around. And that's when you do a lot of innovation, is when you're just playing. Hello! So this was the arcade game that I mentioned. Oh, you may have mentioned it. This is bows and arrows, which is fun. Where is it? Maybe?
Which thing were you looking for?
There's a Roman Colosseum.
Are you sure that was in the lab?
No. This is human anatomy. Maybe it wasn't in this. Maybe it was in a different educational thing.
Let me search. Oh.
Kind of doing some tourism.
Whoops.
Oh.
I just closed Twitch on my machine. Let me open that.
Whoa! That's cool.
Of course, it's in.
That's so cool. You can kind of see different parts of the body. You can trim it, which is kind of awesome. I wonder if there's a back button. How about that? So can we see the head? Ooh, the mouse. Look at that. So you can kind of see how the spine connects. Okay, I'm done with that experience. Are there any requests from the audience of what they would like to see?
Well, there, Indie Development Labs is asking if VR has replayability or are experiences only relevant one to a few times.
It depends on what you're playing. So, if you're gonna play something that's very scriptive and has a story narrative to it, then replayability isn't going to be that great. I mean, it's like playing Legend of Zelda a second time. Like, sometimes it can be really cool to experience, but it's not something that you're gonna be doing all the time. There are other games like Space Pirate Trainer or Diner Duo that the experience isn't about like trying to complete a story. You're going to be doing actions over and over again. There's some sort of mastery that you're trying to achieve to it, just as if you were, playing Mario Kart or, playing Smash Brothers or a non-Nintendo reference. I've always been a fan of co-op games. So, like, if you play through World of Warcraft or Guild Wars or any of those, like, big world-building games, there's a lot of different levels that you can experience it. You can only play the story or the quest generally once, but that's not exactly why you're in that experience. You're playing with other people. You want the challenge. In a lot of those games, there's PvP where you're playing back and forth. And so you can have something like Rec Room where the number one draw is that you're playing with other people. And then the people are going to be different each time. Or maybe you have the same friends that come over every Friday night to play and you play the same game every single time. But that's more about social bonding than, about playing that VR experience or game experience. So all the different reasons why we play games today can be all the different ways that we play VR games in the future, once enough content has been generated. There are a lot of single content experiences. Like Job Simulator is amazing, but it doesn't have a lot of replayability. But then you have other things like Starfleet Bridge Crew, which is very story narrative, but you also can play with other people, and that can be fun, trying to complete the missions, and you're trying to play as like different bridge crew, and so you go back because you want to get more experience than just that one linear. Did you find the experience I was looking for?
No, I haven't. I think it might have been a free one that is no longer on my mission. Oh, actually, I found it.
Okay.
I think it's Edmersiv.
Okay.
Edmersiv. I think that's the one that it was in.
Okay. Can they still see my screen?
Yes, it's still on the display mirror.
Okay. I can't scroll. Nope. I don't want Subnautica. I don't know why I can't scroll. That's weird. I obviously have lots of VR games.
You just want me to put it on for you?
Yes, please.
Let's close out of the lab first.
Is it playing?
Apparently the Steam Family Share thing doesn't share software only games.
Oh.
So you would need to log in as me, I believe, in order to actually be able to.
Isn't it a free game?
Might be.
It should be free.
Okay, let me go to the store then and download that.
Sorry.
We were not prepared for this.
Yeah. I thought it was a different thing, so I made sure I had other things downloaded. Oh, there it is.
Oh, you can see something about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you're downloading, it's making the experience really choppy.
Yeah, we're downloading, streaming, and doing VR all at once.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that they knew that that was why the experience is being down. Whenever I was streaming Ludum Dare games, I would always try and download them all at the same time, because even just playing like a two-dimensional like Unity game, you would have so many drop frame rates when you download it. And with VR, it's like intensified.
Indy had been asking about the Portal VR experience before as well.
Oh!
They had asked if it would, or they had mentioned that Portal for VR would be cool, and I replied they actually did one and linked it into the chat.
Yeah. I've actually not played the Portal VR. That's something that I should do on a future stream, I think.
Probably.
That would be fun. Is it still downloading?
Oh, it just finished.
Okay.
Launching.
Okay. Edmersiv.
Oh,
Hopefully this is what I was looking for.
Does that look squished to you?
Yes, it does.
Okay. See if I can get rid of... See if that works. Yay, okay.
Hello, welcome to Edmersiv.
Yes,
my name is Goldie,
totally it.
and I'll be your trusty robotic companion.
Okay.
I'll guide you through the experience, but if you grow tired of my soothing voice...
Okay, so this is a castle, but over here, come on, I can go inside the Coliseum.
Oh, great.
Ha!
Welcome to the Coliseum. Okay, let's cut to the chase, shall we? Similar to the logic used in the museum, click on the change view icon that looks like an eye to teleport to that location. Oh, and to go back to the museum, click on the large eye icon in the sky.
Oh, right up there. Boop. Can they see what I can see now?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
They can see you boop the eye in the sky.
So this is one of the early VR releases. That's why I confused it with the lab. they didn't have the teleportation in. So like if I put my thumb on the thumb pad, you can kind of see like my fingers moving around in a circle. They hadn't figured out how to move around easily. So they have specific spots that they are encouraging me to go to with these little eyes. And so I have a constant red laser that is coming out of my controller. It's coming like right out of the top of the tip. And the idea is that I'm supposed to be able to point it to the thing I want. But because it was such an early game, they didn't know some of the UI practices that are showing up in games that, you know, like 2 years later have been created. So like that teleportation that I was talking about would be really handy. It would allow me to move around this scene. I could check out things. That could be really cool. But here, they have taken a lot of control away from me. They have pre-programmed spots that they want me to interact with. And they could have done a combination where they let me like teleport around and I can go like on the top of the towers and I can walk around and make it feel really cool, but then also have little like the symbol with the letter I where I could stand and have this robot narrate for me. They took an approach more like a museum, where if you're doing like a guided tour or an audio tour in a museum, they will have like specific spots that you're supposed to stand and look at something, and then the guide or the audio narrator will tell you something. And that's what they did in this experience. They worked really hard to recreate in a 3D model what the Roman Colosseum would have looked like. There are no actual players there. There's no like Romans in the audience. So this is more of like an archaeological kind of exploration. But even though the UI could have been better, when I pointed the eye, it would be nice if it changed color or did some sort of confirmation so that I would know that that is what I have selected. That's the only real thing that I would like to add to this. I feel like having it be so empty, it really focuses you on looking at the architecture of it. There's no sound, there's no audio to make you feel like you're in the Colosseum in the heyday of when it was available in Rome. That might be like a really cool thing to add at the end, where after you've explored everything, maybe you could be up at the top and you can see, you know, like a gladiator fight or something in the middle, and you could see all the people in the stands. But for educational purposes, like, this is perfectly fine. It allows you to kind of understand how it was built, and that was the focus of it. So I'm going to go around to some of the different eyes, so that you can see what this experience is like.
Hey, can you imagine gladiators coming through those doors?
So this approach for having fixed spots makes a lot of sense if you are going somewhere and sticking a 360 camera there, but it just doesn't make sense if you're already modeling it.
Mm-hmm.
This is the place from which the Emperor would watch the combats. At the beginning of the combat, he was usually greeted with the phrase, "Those who are about to die, salute you."
And so, like, this could have been cool if they would have, like, put a chair or something that really symbolized what it would have been like to be the Emperor up here. Instead, they just focused on the architecture, which is, you know, a fair decision. I'm going to go across the way in the stands.
Here we can see the Colosseum's cross-section. The arena stage was made of wood and filled with sand. It had a complex network of tunnels and passages that stayed hidden under the gladiators' feet. Nowadays, this network is visible because they were excavated in the last few years and the wooden stage is not there anymore. Animals were risen from these underground parts through rustic elevators. They were employed to increase the combat's drama.
And see, this is something that you couldn't do if you had like a physical set, because they've given you a cross-section to kind of see what the Colosseum would have been like and how it was built. And while before I was out like on the floor. They've now taken it away so that I can see what the underneath elements would have been, and the maze-like elements, almost as if you were going to the Globe Theater and seeing what it would have been underneath, and all of the behind the scenes that the actors would have been using. So I have one more spot that I wanted to show you up here.
Oh, wow! Take a look at this view. Hope you're not afraid of heights.
So this is an experience where they're kind of showing you like top down what it would have been like. And there's also this one where you can kind of stand out over it all. Kind of cool, huh?
Oh, wait. Hold tight. We're gonna fall.
Boom. And that is something you should probably never do in VR.
Was something.
Yeah. Falling is bad.
Falling is definitely very bad. There was no warning.
You still there?
Yes, I'm still here. There was no warning that that was going to happen. And that took away control of my body away from me. I've done a lot of falling in VR now, so I know how to handle it in order to not get sick. Generally, a good strategy is to look down at the floor because right below your feet, it shouldn't be moving. Another good strategy if you start getting nauseous is to close your eyes. But they should not have added that to an experience that they've designed for beginners. And you can tell, like, with the tutorial that they have and the, like, really gentle introduction to everything, that this is something that they expect people who have no VR experience to be coming in and playing.
I have a fair amount of VR experience, and that would have made me nope right out of there.
And that didn't enhance the experience at all. There was no reason why I needed to jump from the top and fall down. There was no reason for that. It was just meant for entertainment. It did not enhance the educational experience at all.
So Indy asks, do you think technology is an exponential growth and will infinitely get better, or logistic growth, I think he means logarithmic growth, that will get to smaller and smaller growth and infinite fractions? But by using the falsical of infinitely small fractions, it will come to a stop.
Well, when it comes to technology, I think the only limitation is our ability to imagine. And creativity in humans has never really been limited. Because when it comes down to it, technology is a tool that you are using to solve a problem. As long as we have problems, we're going to try and find ways to solve them. And it is the nature of being human to be curious and to work to trying to make things better. And that's why, we don't stay in our parents' house and in the same job and with the same rules. We're always looking to try and make things better, more efficient, more fair, and we use tools in order to do that. And I don't know what the future is going to look like. I don't even know if VR is going to be around. I hope it is. I think it has a lot of really cool potential. But imagine being in the 80s and seeing someone on a cell phone, like a really big brick phone right against their ear, and say that someday in the future, everyone's going to have one of those. Like, okay, maybe, but your idea of what a cell phone is back then is completely different from what a cell phone is today. And right now, I have something that's very bulky strapped to the front of my face. My face is really sweaty. There's a lot of people that can't wear the Vive for more than a couple hours without getting an extreme headache. And if we're going to have a future like the holodeck, like in the Oasis from Ready Player One, even in Blade Runner, where you have augmented reality in a lot of different places, you're going to have to improve the hardware so that it's lighter and easier to wear and easier for everybody to use. And as we keep trying to solve problems, We're going to create new problems, but we're also going to change how people interact. And that's going to be cool. And let's hope that it continues to be positive, because for the past 30 years, a lot of the use of technology hasn't necessarily been positive. And technology itself isn't necessarily negative or positive. It's always neutral. It's how it's used. One of my favorite examples lately has been an AI that was on Facebook, and it was giving ads to individuals about gambling. And there was this AI, machine learning algorithm, that was identifying people that were bipolar or had a manic phase, and it could predict when they were going to go, into their manic phase, where they would lose a lot of control. They would want to spend more, and it was purposely giving them advertisements to go to a casino. Now, the implications of that are really bad. I don't want to advertise to people that have a mental illness that, hey, go spend money. But if instead of advertising a, gambling spree, if we provided them intervention to, a medical professional, or we alerted their close family and friends so that they could take intervention and help, then that would be the same algorithm, but the use of it could be positive and for social good. And that's what I'm hoping that we can do. Whether it's Facebook or, search or email or VR, I want to find ways to use technology to enhance lives and help people.
So I just looked up logistic growth, and that is what Indy meant, and they were correct, and I was not. Apparently, logistic growth looks like exponential growth at first, but then ends up becoming asymptotic to some maximum. And yeah, I don't know if that was an answer to the question, but
I don't know if it is either. I think there's a lot of elements that are going to come into play to allow people to be innovators. It's that idea of the American spirit. One of the things that helped us be able to get as far as we were so quickly is that you didn't have to have a lot of money to get started. Facebook was, famously started in a dorm room, and the internet was popularized in college because, people wanted to play games and connect with each other, and that is what took something that the military was originally using to kind of communicate and modernized it so that people could communicate in chat rooms and play really, really primitive games. And when you reduce a lot of those barriers to access, that's where you're going to get more innovation, more creativity, more ability to make things really cool. So I hope that we can allow fair use to actually be fair, that we can get rid of patent trolls that are only focused on trying to make money, and that we can empower today's youth to innovate and learn how to fail and come back stronger, because the only real way to learn is to fail, and we have to have safe places to fail. And if it costs like $100,000 in order to, get in a space where you can even try and make a mistake, then it's going to make it much harder for you to innovate. And it's going to make it much harder for technology to grow and change. Oh, I'm sorry. Is the other one charged? I don't even know what time it is. Okay. Is that the new one?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, but it is still fine. So there is one last experience that I think I want to share. This is actually not a game. This is a 360 video. There's been a lot of experiences that have been created just to be viewed. And those are really cool and exciting. A lot of them are coming out of LA. And the ability to tell a story in 360 is so powerful. And I think that that's also something when it comes to VR that we can't forget, that being able to put someone in an experience and allow them to look around and try something out is much different than like sitting in a movie theater and watching the action happen. You get the ability to interact with it and to be a participant, which is what makes VR set out. What?
I'm switching it over to the headset mirror.
Oh, okay. It's really bad?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
OBS is not like VR sometimes.
And they could not hear anything I was just saying. Yeah, switching over to the VR mirror because the headset mirror, because just OBS does not like VR sometimes. That seems about right.
So this company has created more than one story narrative in VR. This one is a short little film. It's really cute, has a bunny in it, but they've also created one with a sequel on it where you're on a planet. So I'm gonna play the first one. Let's see if I can get it to. Come on. It doesn't want to play. It doesn't want to play. No. I can't get it to play. Oh no. I guess I might have to, since it doesn't want to play. No. I might have to do something else for the last one then. Okay. I'll do the Space Needle VR for the last one. Huh?
That fits your theme for the for tonight better anyway.
Yeah. Okay. It's launching. So this experience was actually created originally as a hackathon project where Expedia was kind of playing around with what does it mean to have virtual reality. And they are located in Seattle, Washington, where there's a lot of VR studios. And they recreated the Space Needle, which is a big landmark in Seattle. Let me see. Okay. Seattle is this or the Space Needle in Seattle is this really big sculpture. I think it was built for like the World's Fair. And they created this like VR experience so that you can kind of walk around the Space Needle and you can also walk on top of it. So again, it has teleportation. Woohoo! I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna show you some things that didn't work well. If I can. So they recreated this as faithfully as they could. So if you go visit the Space Needle, I assume that there's like this walkway around it, and there is this like oh, sorry, I got outside. There we go. There's this like hall that has posters in it that tells you the history of the Space Needle. But as you can see when you're in VR, this is really, really hard to read. There are no controls that I can use in order to like make the picture better. It's curved a little bit, but it isn't something that is easy for me to see. And I can kind of tell the pictures, but this is a bad experience.
Does getting closer to it help at all?
No, I mean,
Whoops.
I'm in the elevator.
Okay. Again, they're moving you.
Yeah, but this one is pretty good because they have this cage around me so that I have that solid thing to like latch onto, and so it doesn't feel as bad. So can I go back down, please? It still feels like I'm like, woo, you know, stomach goes up a little bit.
Yeah, this one I stopped when I got in the elevator.
Yeah. And there's no sound, so that no, come on. Oh my goodness. Come on. I'm trapped in the stupid elevator. So this one could have been better, but I like the idea that they were trying to accomplish. So, okay. So you'll never be able to actually stand on top of the Space Needle. So that's kind of cool that you can do it. They also decided like, oh, we like moving the player. So, you know, we're going to make them bungee jump. So here you go. So, whoa, like they're moving me, not even just like up and down, but they're moving me in like different axes, and just, yeah, bad experience. I want to get off this thing though. I'm not sure how to completely get out. I think everything turned white.
Oh God.
What?
I just saw you bouncing up and down on the screen.
Yeah. But this is an experiment, and there are many things that you can learn from it. Like, don't move the player, and the teleportation is way too sensitive. I shouldn't accidentally end up in the elevator and move.
That's not really being sensitive. That's going through things.
Yeah. So, I think I'm just on an observatory. I'm gonna, like, try going to Building the Marvel, which is where I was before. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, like, you can see how right here, when I'm trying to get closer to the window, it's taking me down on the ground. So, like, the closest I can get even takes me out. Okay. Come on. Oh, my goodness. How do I get back up? Did I get myself stuck again? Come on.
What do you mean again?
I'm stuck. Okay. I'm sorry. I can't even show you the experience. Oh, I'm gonna have to take this off.
Okay.
Sorry. There we go.
Hopefully all right?
Oh. You can see Eddie on?
It is, yes.
Okay. Oh.
All the way under chair. Many times.
So, thank you for watching. Now I can actually read the chat, so if you have any questions, I might be able to answer them for you.
Now, as you watch the to drive across the floor.
Here, maybe I can turn the mirror off so it's just black. There we go.
Do you not have a logo scene on your machine?
I don't think I do.
I just got that on mine. Okay.
We should add that.
We should.
So, it looks like, did they use the vector formulas for 4D and create the code for it from scratch? I don't know. I wasn't on the team that created this.
They're talking about the 4D toys.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wonder if they could do that in Blender. Well, I'm sorry. You were having a whole separate conversation without me, and I wasn't privy to it. I'm so sorry. Okay. So you're showing them 40 toys?
Yeah, he mentioned, or they mentioned, linked the Wikipedia article for four-dimensional space, and said they wondered what that would look like in VR. So like that just happens to exist here.
I think the creator for that one was also a mathematician and was like generally just like playing around and really curious with it. I've seen so many really cool projects that happen because someone's curious and they play and then it turns into something. And that to me is one of the best kinds of experiences. And that's again why I want to have a diverse amount of people making VR. Like someone recreated Doom in VR. That's cool. I'm never gonna play that. I want to make an experience about modern day slavery. I think someone's going to say the exact same thing of like, that's cool. I'm not going to play that about my experience. So the more experiences we have, the more quality experiences we're going to have. And my goal is to try and help people avoid the ETs of the world. Let's try and learn from others' mistakes and try and make really awesome VR and build a dialogue so that when you're playing VR, you can know what it is that you like and don't like about it and can communicate it better. So it's been really awesome having the indie development, I can't even read his name, Development Labs?
Yes.
Indie Development Labs. It's been awesome having you in the stream, and I hope that you tune in again next week on Friday. I'm going to be picking a specific game, which is Temple Raid, and I'm going to play that through and do more of a kind of let's play than the tour kind of thing that I did tonight.
We're doing the co-op stream on Sunday, right?
And on Sunday we're going to be playing traditional like 2D games that are co-op, like 2-player or multiplayer. And I'm a big fan of couch co-op, and so those are the kinds of games that I like playing on Sunday afternoons. So thank you for watching, and thank you for participating in chat. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to see your messages in my headset, but I hope that you enjoyed and that I answered all of your questions.